Hi everyone, and welcome to the Business Events Podcast, a podcast that hosts interviews and discussion panels with experts from the business events industry and academics. I am Monica Martins, and today I'm with Xavier Villares. Hello Xavi, how are you?
Hello Monica, here we are, surviving. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Today we will interview Brodie Sutton, who is the president of the Edinburgh Napier Events University. Edinburgh Napier Events Society, sorry. Yeah. Brodie, welcome. Thank you so much for accepting to be here with us today. So can you just let us know a bit of your background and what is currently your occupation?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. It's really, really good to be on. I have quite a few different things going on in the background. As you mentioned there, I'm the president of the Events Society, which is quite a big part of what I do, but there's other things as well that I'll go into more detail as they become more relevant to the questions being asked later on. So I do quite a lot with the Event Society, quite a lot of opportunities come in through that door, but aside from that, I'm also the vice coordinator for Meadows Marathon, which is a student-run event that happens every year. Usually attracts about 1,000 runners to the Meadows in Edinburgh. This year, obviously, things have been very different, but it's still going ahead virtually. It's actually this weekend, so very busy at the moment. And then I also sit on the board of trustees for ESCA, which is the Edinburgh Students' Charities Appeal, which is actually the charity behind Meadows Marathon. So, yeah, that's essentially a wee bit about me. Quite actively involved with different things within Napier University, but yeah.
That's great, thank you so much. So let's focus in the business events industry in the city of Edinburgh. Can you tell us a bit about the impact that COVID-19 had in the work of Edinburgh Napier Events Society?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose the best place to start is a year ago, almost to the day. So last March, we started off March with Meadows Marathon, which I briefly mentioned there, and that was on the 1st of March. Went ahead, full 1,000 runners, and then we had our last event before lockdown on the 11th of March, which was the Edinburgh Can Be Poverty-Free Conference. And looking back at it, crazy to think that we were having conferences on the 11th of March, right before everything went into lockdown. But I remember doing the risk assessment for that event actually, and we were writing stuff like extra hand sanitizers will be distributed and stuff like that. And everyone was saying like coronavirus is still a Chinese thing. I mean, it was a Chinese thing and kind of taking off in Italy, but no, everyone was like, it's not that close to home yet. And it is crazy to think how quickly after that things spiraled out of control and we entered lockdown. So then following that, all of our events went online. We were lucky that we didn't have much stopping us from just very quickly changing our events to being online events. Like, I understand if you're in a big, massive company where there's a lot of moving parts, it's difficult to be agile, but we were in a very, very good situation where we could just very quickly change the model that we were using. So because of that, none of our events actually had to be cancelled. Some of them were delayed, but they all have gone ahead since then in the form of virtual events. So we delivered a few sort of career events, working with the Student Marketing Society at Napier as well, and they were really, really well received. So we did one on carving your career in events, where we had different event professionals speaking about different aspects of the industry. And then we did another one called Young People in Business, where we were looking specifically at people that were starting off in their career or people that had been really successful given a young age. So both of those events were really, really well received. And they gave us an opportunity to experiment with tech. So they were both Zoom events, which isn't ideal, but there's also a lot that you can do with a Zoom event. It's not, they're not terrible. And one thing that we found actually is that it gave us a really interesting opportunity. So there are two main things, and both of them we found were geographical. So the first thing is your speakers don't need to come from the city that you are based out of. Before, we would try and invite speakers and coordinate them coming to Edinburgh to give a presentation, and then they would leave again. And that was one of the benefits of doing things online, is that you don't have that requirement to have your speaker in the city. And we found that hugely beneficial. We were able to then have quite well-known speakers that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to bring to Edinburgh that were fine to tune in because it was all online. And then the other thing that we found, which is quite closely related to that, is that beforehand, all of our events were aimed predominantly at our membership. So Edinburgh Napier students that had purchased a membership for the Events Society. But now that we could offer our events to anyone across the country, we found that instead of having maybe 30 people attending our events, we had 100 plus people from up and down the country. And what's happened as a result of that is Edinburgh Napier Events Society has really become a brand that is recognisable within the events industry beyond Edinburgh Napier University. And that's something to me that sounds so crazy to say, because this time last year, Edinburgh Napier Events Society, although we have been very, very cautious about the way that we've marketed ourselves, and we have very stringent marketing branding rules that we've got in place about using the logo and stuff like that, it's weird to think that there's students in the south of England or in Wales or Northern Ireland that know about Edinburgh Napier Events Society. But it's quite rewarding, and we've had people, myself and Cameron, who was the founder of the Event Society, we have done presentations before to students from other universities about how they can start a society, an event society at their own university, and how they can try and make it as successful as the one that we have. So yeah, after that we were presenting or delivering these events under the Event Society banner, and we started being noticed by external organisations for the work that we were doing, who were then getting in touch with us about us helping with their events. And before we knew it, we were, myself and Cameron, essentially working as freelance business event online managers in a way. That wasn't intentional, but also very, 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 very grateful for that. And we've had so many opportunities that have come that way that we wouldn't have seen coming. So a lot of things come in to university lecturers asking for students helping, and we just get them sent our way because we've sort of built this reputation as being the students that do business events. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, how the past year has gone for myself.
That is fantastic, Brodie. I think it is really, also it is very inspiring to see that you guys managed to get to this point of getting well known in the industry and also supporting other students. I think that it's a really good example for other students in the same, either in the same industry or that are studying to work in the event industry, or others to know what you are all doing. And I think it's really, really powerful. Mm-hmm. And as Edinburgh Napier Events Society received any support to manage through the COVID-19 crisis, or you just did it all yourselves, and with your work you managed to get where you are now?
So, in terms of financial support, we haven't had to go down those avenues because although our income has been slashed and then slashed again, and it's now tiny. Our expenses have also plummeted. We've not been spending that much money. In a normal year, we'd be putting on the business ball, which is usually in December, November time. And that is an event that is extremely expensive. Basically, we sell tickets not to make a profit. So any money that is sold on those tickets is spent on the event, and the event is a really, really good night. But we've not been doing stuff like that because of the coronavirus restrictions. So we've not needed to seek financial help. We have had conversations about who we would turn to if we fell into that situation. So perhaps coming to some sort of partnership with event organisations or something like that, because the Marketing Society have had similar arrangements in place in the past. So we have thought about that, but we haven't actually needed to go down that route. Now, saying that, although we haven't had much financial support, I think that the past year has really, really shown the value of having relationships with other organisations in Edinburgh, but also throughout the whole country. So to name a few, obviously the university have supported us massively, and we're very grateful for that, and the Student Association as well. The Edinburgh Students' Charities Appeal, which I mentioned I sit on the Board of Trustees for, have been really, really, really good in helping us sort of address certain financial problems that we have. So essentially, this is a charity that is set up to support students in Edinburgh raise money for third-party charities that they can choose what charity they want to fundraise for. And then the role of this charity, ESCA, is to facilitate that. So we've got an event that's hopefully going to be happening in person later on this year, that's going to be an art exhibition. And ESCA have supported us very, very well financially for that. But that's not money that has come in just because of coronavirus. They would have done that anyway, but this has just highlighted the importance of that relationship. So yeah, I think that although we've not received any financial support specifically to do with addressing coronavirus, we've definitely had a lot of just support from other organisations.
Thank you so much. That sounds absolutely amazing. How important do you consider face-to-face events to be for a university and its students? Because right now, like, we connect with people in the university, our colleagues and lecturers and people who work there, just basically by email or using online platforms. How do you see like the importance of face-to-face?
Yeah. So another sort of string to my bow that I haven't mentioned at the moment is I am currently on placement actually from on my university course. So as part of my third year, the second trimester of that is me on placement. So I'm actually doing my placement with the university itself. So I sit on the student engagement team as an events executive. And although my placement isn't solely working on student engagement events, that is part of it. And obviously this year we've experienced a decrease in student engagement, which I think is inevitable, and there's not much that can be done to completely mitigate that. But the student engagement team have been working to try and come up with innovative ways to activate that audience and make sure that the student experience is more than just your lectures. Obviously, in a normal year, a big part of that is the events that are put on. But I think this year they're finding a bit of a conflict where I think students want stuff like their graduation and stuff like that, and they want it to go ahead regardless of coronavirus. But at the same time, a lot of them don't want an online graduation because it's not going to meet the same standards in their view. So I think we're in a bit of a situation where the events that do need to go ahead, or events that we're trying to put ahead, how do we make sure that the quality of those events isn't being compromised by putting them online? And I think this is something that is going to come up time and time again when people are speaking about this year, is that with online events, we're really grappling with people's attention spans, and we're trying to make sure that, I mean, I'm working on an event at the moment, and one of the biggest things that we're trying to come up with is how do we make sure that, so it's an awards ceremony, how do we make sure that the people that have their awards at the start of the night want to stay for the whole night, rather than just sort of getting your award at the start and then dropping off after that point. So yeah, I think just trying to come up with innovative ways to try and keep the student body engaged has been difficult, but there definitely there's been engagement happening still, even though those events have gone online. Definitely looking forward to in-person events though.
This is quite interesting because I think that all of us at some point during this year, we have this sensation of being with other people, in front of the screen and trying to make, have keep the vibe and stuff, drinking something with, and this kind of ceremony probably will be as well a little bit challenging for this kind of thing. So I completely, I feel all my support on this, and good luck finding ways for that. Well, and can you please tell us about any virtual events that you have been holding? You're talking about this our ceremony, but especially I think I am interested in the Meadows Marathon. I mean, how are you running the event this year? I've been reading a little bit, but tell us a bit how did you manage, and how was this idea, where it come from? I don't know. Tell us a little bit about this, please.
Yeah, so Meadows Marathon specifically has, gosh, I probably should have checked this. I think it's been around since 2007. So it's been about for a while now, and every year it happens in Meadows Marathon. As I mentioned, it's part of ESCA, and it's really, really successful. It's built up this sort of brand and a reputation now, and it's going really well. This year, as I mentioned, has been difficult, but we agreed very early on, and I think this is something that we've all noticed has been highly, highly beneficial, is erring on the side of caution and making sure that if you think that your event is maybe not going to go ahead as an in-person event, you're better off making the decision right from the get-go, right, we're going to put all of our effort into online, because we start planning for Meadows Marathon, which is mid-March this year. We started planning for it in October. Now, last October, we weren't sure if the event was going to be in person or if it was going to be online, but very quickly we decided, right, we're better just focusing on online and just sort of losing this sort of unsure element to going ahead if it was to happen live. And that has paid off massively, because it meant that we knew exactly what needed to happen right from the get-go. So essentially now we have you get a runner pack delivered to you. Now most of those runner packs have been delivered because the event is this weekend. And then we've worked with Race Nation, which is usually just our ticketing platform, but they've built into their system now the ability to track your run for an online event. So you go away and do your run and you have your runner pack, and then our issue as event managers is then, how do we make this an event and not just an online shop that sells runner packs? So we've worked really, really hard with different people. And again, it goes back to that point of having your connections and supporting each other. So we've had, essentially what we did is we set up a runners only area of our website, and we've been posting content to that over the past year, writing blog posts, making videos, stuff like that, so that there's a bit more value to buying your ticket than just a runner pack. And the reception has been incredible. So the runner packs went out over the past few days, and we've seen so much stuff coming through online about just how happy people are with them, and it's really, really rewarding to see. And then a few other events that I've worked on over the past year. There was an Atlas conference, so it's the Association for Research and Education, Research into Tourism Education, or something along those lines. It's in a foreign language, and that's why they have the acronym ATLAS, because the letters don't line up to the name of it. But that event was last October, and it was broadcast to attendees in 36 different countries. So that was my first ever international conference, and certainly went right into the deep end there with ticking off 36 different countries. And then we've also been working on industry conferences a lot as well in the past. So 2 weeks ago, I had the BAFA conference, which is the British Arts Festival Association. That was a 3-day conference, really, really, really good. And again, I think it goes back to this point of everything over the past year has been different, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. We had people, we were trialing quite a lot of tech for this event, because it was a 3-day event. And I go back to that thing that I was saying about how do you make people's attention, how do you retain people's attention for the whole event? So for a 3-day event, that is obviously going to be challenging. So we were trialing quite a lot of stuff. We used technology called Wonder, which basically it makes it more interactive, and you can sort of use your cursor in a virtual room and people can come and speak to you. Now, when that was described to me initially, I was like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. I'll be running away from people with my cursor, but it worked really, really well. And again, it was really well received, and it gave the event more of like this sort of collaborative feeling, like you're there with other people, and less like you're just sitting on a Zoom call that's being broadcast to you. So that was really good. And in one of those Wonder Me sessions, I joined a wee group of people, and they were saying that event they think is going to change the way that BAFA works with festivals, because it was so inclusive. Sort of, it was meant for members, but anyone could come, whereas in a normal year, that event would have been in person, in London, people would fly in, and there would be, I think, about 30 people there, and we had upwards of 100 every single day. So I think there's positives to be found within all of the negatives over the past year. And then someone else said, slickest conference ever in lockdown and stuff like that. So it's all those type of things that are rewarding to see as an event manager. And then coming up, we've got the BAFA student conference. So the same organisation, they do a student conference, and that will be in May. That's not going to be a 3-day event. I think it's going to be more like 3 hours, but planning has started for that, and we're expecting extremely high attendance for that. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Okay, it sounds like you will keep busy at yourself with all these events. Any other conference or event for the students at Edinburgh Napier University this year that you want to maybe announce or something?
Yeah, so there's plenty of events, or there's stuff that will go out on our website as and when we can announce it. Now, there are lots and lots and lots of things in the pipeline that I can't formally announce yet, because I think, as I said, if there's one thing that the past year has taught us is always err on the side of caution, and I wouldn't want to announce anything until we've got it completely set in stone. So We've got a student event that we're going to run in partnership with the Society for Incentive Travel Excellence, so SITE Scotland, and that's going to be highlighting the sort of that whole industry that I think is often overlooked in events, the whole incentive travel and incentive destination and stuff like that. So really looking forward to that event. That's going to be early April, and there will be details going out on our website about that very, very, very shortly. And then we've got the BAFA student conference that I've mentioned. That is due to be the 17th of May. And then I've got some other things that I'm working on as well. On my placement, I've got degree shows, graduation things that are still unclear at the moment, but I'm hoping to get involved with some of that stuff.
Great. Good luck with all this, and it's gonna be great for sure. What is your view about the future? So for the events industry, more in general, in the hopefully post-pandemic world, maybe within 1 year, I don't know. But as an event organizer and a young professional, what is your view? How do you think? How can you manage to imagine the world within maybe, I say, 1 year, or whenever this situation can be passed finally?
Yeah. So I'm obviously looking forward to live events. I think everyone is. But I do think that there's lessons to be learned over the past year. And I think that given the sort of monumental change that will have occurred in the whole industry over the past year, we're bound to find that the status quo won't just return to normal. I don't think that, I think that hybrid events are probably going to become more common than just in-person live events. I think we'll find that almost every live event has a hybrid element to it, whether it's just being filmed that's then going to be posted online, or if it's going to be broadcast live online, or whatever it happens to be. I think we will find that hybrid events will be the way forward. I think that the roadmaps that have been announced for getting out of the pandemic by governments have been extremely optimistic, or they make me very optimistic. But I also think that, I keep saying this, but one thing that everything has taught us is err on the side of caution, take everything with a pinch of salt. And I think even though the roadmaps have been announced, I'm just very, very, very cautious that those dates will be kept to. I think that new technologies have been developed just so quickly. There's always new things coming out to do with event management lately. But I do think that, I was thinking this the other day, I think so many things will have happened that will cause a butterfly effect, and we won't notice, I think, until about 3 or 4 years' time. I think we'll look back at things and go, oh yeah, the reason that we're doing that is because of coronavirus. Like, I don't know, it'll be something like it'll become the norm that people will join your event virtually as well as having a live audience, and we'll go, oh yeah, that was because of coronavirus, or something like that. And I think there'll be many, many, many butterfly effects that we don't realize until a few years down the line are the direct cause of the pandemic. But I don't think that all of those things are necessarily bad things. I keep saying this as well, but there's so many positives. There's so many silver linings to everything. You just have to look sometimes very, very closely, but there's always positives to be found in the negatives.
Okay, thanks for these thoughts, Brodie. Any message, maybe any advice that you would like to share for all those young professionals and students that are finishing their undergraduate and postgraduate studies at the moment, at the Napier, but maybe as well in other universities. What will be your message and your advice for them?
Definitely. I think I've only got where I am, and that sounds like I'm really blowing my own trumpet, but I've only got here because I have taken opportunities that have come my way. And I would say that there are opportunities out there. You need to take them as they come your way. Now, saying that, I would also really like to say that there's so many opportunities that it can become overwhelming. You know, there's so many online courses that you can do to improve your skills and stuff like that it can be overwhelming. And I would say, don't be anxious if you can't do all of them, because you can't do all of them. And I think it's easy to see everyone else in the industry going, I've got this accreditation, I've just got this certificate and stuff like that, which is really well and good, and I've done them myself over the past year and they've been really useful, but very important to appreciate that you cannot do every single one. And you know, there's only one of you and you need to take care of yourself. And on that point as well, this year's been extremely difficult for students. I'm a program rep, and you know, almost weekly I have sort of things to do with mental health that I need to deal with, and I just think that you need to prioritize your own care. So take care of your mental health. I think most universities have quite good support in place if you go out and seek that help. So yeah, I would say those things, you know, do take opportunities as they come, but don't beat yourself up if you can't do every single thing. And then the other thing that I would say is engage with organisations. So this can be professional organisations, gosh, there's so many to pick from. We've actually got a list on the members only area of our website, so if you want to buy a Edinburgh Napier Events Society membership, then you'll see all of them, and many of them are free for students. So I would say engage with those type of organisations. There's ones that aren't professional organisations like Event Grads, which I don't know if either of you will have heard of. It's on Facebook. It's just been started in the past year, but it's amassed, I think it's about 1,000 sort of followers online, and they've got stuff happening all the time. You know, they've always got wee presentations going on or stuff that you can get involved with, and just in general, they've formed a really, really, really good network of event managers, event students, and sort of anyone just event related. So that's Event Grads, and they're on Facebook predominantly. Just started a website, and I'm very, very, very excited to see what's coming from them in the next few months. And I think that would pretty much be my advice generally for event students.
I really think that you will be indeed like a really well prepared generation, despite the circumstances. I mean, you are like learning a lot right now. At the moment that we are learning a lot of things in a row, and that's amazing, and that's a challenge, but it's an opportunity, as you are explaining as well. And just to finish, I would like you to share with us maybe a song. I don't know. We always say a song or a singer, but if you have a specific song, that's fantastic. That make you feel better in these difficult days. You know, this song, maybe that song that you put whenever you feel like, oh, I need to feel a little bit better. This is my song. No?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely probably the hardest question that you've asked me so far. I don't know. There's so many. One that does stand out. It's an oldie, but it's a goldie. You know, everyone loves it. Is "Move On Up" by Curtis Mayweather. Just that song is you know, you put it on in the car, turn the volume right up, and there you go. Your worries are completely out the window. And people see me driving down the road and I'm like, move on up, screaming. But, you know, it's just so good at like boosting your mood. I love it.
So good, Brodie. It was really a pleasure to speak with you. It was like really, really good to get like all the views that you have and the knowledge that you have acquired already being so young. It is very, very inspiring what you are doing. And yeah.
Completely, yeah.
It was great to be on. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah, we really liked it too. It was really good to meet you too. It's great. We hope to meet you at some point in Edinburgh in person.
Definitely. I think when live events go ahead, there's been so many people that do you know what, like over the past year, I've met so many people through Zoom calls. And, you know, I think when everyone finally meets me in person, they'll realize, gosh, you're quite short, aren't you? Because I'm very short. So, yeah, not looking forward to that.
All of us, I mean, so no worries.
Absolutely great to meet you, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at the Business Events Podcast. Get in touch if you would like to be a guest in our podcast too. Our email is info@thebusinesseventspodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening.
Just move on up toward your destination. Though you